Hi, I'm Cecil Castellucci. I'm the writer of Batgirl on DC Comics, and you are listening to Spoiler Country.
Citizens of the Republic of Spoilerverse, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric Regan. That, or maybe this, no, I think this, is Mr. Horsley.
The guy making the dumbass faces.
Today on the show, well, she's a punk rocker, a DC author, and went to film school. Cecil Castellucci, isn't it?
That is cool.
Yeah.
And funny, should we tell the story about how I didn't know you were doing an interview tonight and was being dumb?
Yeah, you should. You go ahead and tell it.
So my lovely son did some stupid things today, and I had to figure some stuff out on our home network. And I'm messaging Kenric on Discord. And he's like, "Hey, stop messaging me, or get on Cecil." And I'm like, "What's Cecil?"
I totally fat fingered spelling her name though.
So I'm like Googling Cecil, thinking it's some security app because my son did some stupid things and had some things happen. And I'm like, what is, I'm Googling for 5 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So I text him. He's like, "No, I'm recording." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing an interview tonight."
Yeah, I was telling him, get on the interview with Cecil. And he thought you thought talk about some security app and you're all Googling Cecil.
I was so confused, but hey, here we are.
No, Cecil was awesome, man. She's just wrapping up her Batgirl run. It's the last issue for Batgirl. They're not bringing, they're not continuing it. This is wrapping up the whole thing at number 50.
That's a good number.
Or during the whole Rebirth thing. 50 is a good run. It's a good run.
It is.
And during Rebirth, they brought back Barbara Gordon as Batgirl.
Well, they brought her New 52, yeah.
At the end, though.
No, it's New 52 launched with Gail Simone bringing back Barbara Gordon.
No, I don't think you're right. You should Google it because I did. I'm just saying you should probably Google it unless I read it wrong. You know what I mean? Which is completely possible.
New 52 Batgirl, it stars Barbara Gordon by Gail Simone. It's right there. It's right there.
But when did they start with her? Because I thought it was Stephanie something else.
Stephanie Brown?
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
Yeah, but she was Batgirl for a while.
She was Batgirl for a while, but then it was
and so was Cassandra Cain. Actually, Cassandra Cain wasn't Batgirl for very long, actually.
Yeah, well, then when they launched New 52, they unbroke her back. Gail Simone unbroke.
Was that on 52? Okay, so then I probably read it wrong. I thought it was on the new Rebirth that they unbroke her back. Well, they put a little chip in her.
Yeah, it was New 52 that they unbroke her back. And Gail Simone.
So I was right and Johnny was wrong. I mean, it's so hard to say it the other way around.
Don't hurt yourself, man. Don't hurt yourself.
Well, the funny thing is most of the time I'm not sure myself. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure it's this. I think this. And you are adamant about whatever we're saying. And almost every time it comes out that I was right, that because I'm so unsure of myself. And now see what happens when you're adamant.
I was right though. So that's all.
You were right. You were right. I was wrong. So there you go. Take that to heart.
I will.
But we had an amazing conversation. We you'll see we have a beer together. Which is totally fun. And we talk about, well,
I have an empty soda can here. No beer.
There you go. We talk about a lot of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. We talk about her career, how she got into comics, her love for comics since she can remember, all that kind of fun stuff. So
it's just, we've been babbling for quite a while though here. We should probably get into it.
That's what I'm trying to move towards. And it hasn't been that long. God.
It's been at least a minute.
Oh, a minute. Well, let's get into Cecil in her own words. All right, guys, welcome back. And today it's super exciting because, as you can see, I have the ever effervescent Cecil Castellucci with me. She's a writer. She's a director. Did a ton of music back in the 90s and early 2000s. I think you guys know all about that stuff. Cecil, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm glad. It's been a weird year, huh? How's your year going?
I was just talking to one of my besties And I was just telling her that I really like this, like yesterday, and I mean, forever, all days, every day during this whole time. But I've really been missing, like, speaking of music, like live shows and theater and movies. I think like all the movies that they announced in the last couple of days that are going to be like digitally released now, or like the movie theater is closing. And I was just like, are we going to lose everything? Like everything that I hold dear, like no comic book conventions, no theater, no, like I can't have dinner with my friends.
So
like
weird.
So I think, I'm doing fine, but sometimes I just get like this sort of overwhelming rolling despair of like, I really miss these things that give life to life, So, I know everybody else does too.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a very social person. I love people. I love meeting people. I love being around people. I have friends like my co-host Johnny. He's the exact opposite. He loves being at home and staying home and not. And I can't be that way. And so I'm going stir crazy.
Yeah.
Legit going stir crazy.
And I'm alone. Like, I don't live with anyone. I don't have a partner. I don't have kids. So it's like, I mean, I have a few friends that they're like, I'm not in their pod where like we hang out and like group up or anything, but like I'll have like distant beer with them. But it's like, I feel like, is NASA doing a study on like people who are alone? Like, 'cause I feel like I'm ready to go to Jupiter now.
I'm in a bubble. What is going on?
Exactly. I've got the training, so.
Ready for Mars.
Exactly. I'm ready for Mars.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been a weird year. I can't believe all the stuff that's happening. And I just feel so bad for the kids. Like we were talking about earlier. Being stuck at home, doing this homeschool thing. And then the schools are sending out where we're going to try to open up and we're doing this. And there's a part of me is like, not until there's like a vaccine or something that, the numbers are so drastically low that I feel comfortable. Otherwise, I don't want her coming home with that or getting it. And she has asthma. And then,
it's just a whole thing. I mean, I volunteer at an elementary school. I've been volunteering there doing read aloud and literacy with first graders and third graders it's my 21st year doing it this year. Wow. And, I moved it online to Zoom. I worked with the same two teachers. And I mean, I like every week that I go into their Zoom and I'm just like, I can't believe what heroes teachers are right now. Just like not only parents at home, but teachers who are trying to like maintain classroom. Like, my goodness, like, just kudos to everybody who's doing that. It's such an essential year, for everyone. Anyways, so, hey, that's the world.
It is the world. And hopefully soon things will start to die down and we'll see a big push in the other direction, which will be great.
Well, I mean, like I was saying, I teach in Denmark. I teach at a university in Denmark. I do 2-week workshops there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm in the middle of teaching there right now. Except obviously I'm in my living room in Los Angeles.
Right. Do you go there? Do you go to Denmark and teach there when you're
I was there. I was actually there and I got back mid-February. I was there in February. So right before lockdown. I mean, we were joking when I was there, like, oh, maybe you'll get trapped here, and now like, maybe that would have been good.
You'd rather been trapped there than being at home?
I mean, I always like to be at home traveling. I love traveling more than anything in the world. But I mean, Denmark, certainly they really had their shit together. So,
it didn't hit as bad as there, right?
No. Yeah. So
they were able to lock down better.
Yeah. So I'm teaching there now. And it's like, I certainly wish that I could just, I love travel. Like whenever I go over there, I always tack on a week or two and just sort of travel around Europe, because I'm already there. So I'm like, gosh, will I ever be able to do that again?
I'd love to go I've never been to Denmark. I'd love to go there.
Yeah. Copenhagen. I don't teach in Copenhagen, but Copenhagen is great. And anyways, that's that. I teach comics. So that's what I guess we're here to talk about, but I do teach comics. So that's fun.
So Batgirl 50.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big issue.
Yeah, it's a big issue.
What was it like for you to be writing Batgirl, but not only writing Batgirl, but actually writing Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, which people really haven't had a chance to do since 1988?
Well, no, I mean, there's been
there's been iterations, but not in her own book like this.
Well, I mean, before me, there was Margaret Scott, who was writing, and Hope. Yeah.
Yeah. But like New 52 and before all that, you know what I mean?
It's been going on for a couple years now.
But this series is really Barbara Gordon's return.
You're right. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
we can make that a do-over. But it's been amazing. I mean, Barbara Gordon, look, I think all the Batgirls are amazing. They're all so interesting, and they're so kick-ass. And what I love about all the Batgirls, but I think, Barbara Gordon, I think it's very obvious. She's one of the most resilient characters that there is, She never thinks like, how can I not be a hero? Or I can't be a hero because this or that happened to me. She always thinks, how can I do this? How can I do this anyway? And that's a testament to her becoming Oracle, after the Killing Joke. And, I think she's always willing to grow and to learn. I think, she's probably the most mentally sort of healthy Bat family person, because she's willing to go to therapy and sort of figure her shit out. And she's just an incredible character. And if you look back at her history, like when she, arrived on the scene, she was a real feminist. There was a lot of, she was a woman's liber, when she arrived.
A senator at one point too, right?
Congresswoman. Yeah. She basically was like AOC back in the 1970s, and there's this like great shot in like one of the things, she's like the youngest person in Congress and like the only girl basically. And just a sea of white men behind her. And she's pretty amazing. And it's been a real honor to write her.
Maybe you've answered this question, but I want to ask it anyways. What makes Barbara Gordon such an important role model?
Well, I do think it's that resilience, I think it's that willingness to, to sort of check in with herself and learn from whatever situation is thrown at her and to sort of course correct. She's able to learn. She's not so rigid in her ways, and she's sort of unflappable, like you can't, you could bring her down, but she's going to figure out a way to reinvent herself in some way, Yeah. Right now, obviously she has an implant in her and, she's got use of her legs and stuff. But I think, she kind of knows that's not necessarily going to be forever. And I don't think that she takes it for granted. And I don't think that, I don't think that she would be any less of a hero were she to, were that implant to stop working. She knows how to be a hero with or without the implant. So
Barbara Gordon as Oracle is one of the greatest, what's the word, like evolution of a character that you could have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it was really cool to see her do that. And then to bring her back as Batgirl, because I think people were missing her as Batgirl.
Yeah. Well, that whole thing didn't go, I don't think that was very well planned. The whole Killing Joke thing. No offense.
Oh yeah. That was like, well, even Alan Moore has given some regret of doing it the way he did it. So
yeah. So, but I think that, they ran with it in the best way that they could. And I think one of the really things that really helps Barbara as well, not only is she a feminist and, sort of political, like in her origins and stuff, but right from the get-go, when she was created, she was like cutting edge technology. She was like using computers in her library and there's even like an issue about like computer dating that she goes on and stuff. And, this is like old school, like 1970s computers. It's not even like, it's like
bulletin board
2E, so she really, I think she also sort of symbolizes someone who is very willing to engage with new technologies.
Yeah.
And that's sort of always been a part of her, and so it was so brilliant to make her Oracle, someone who's like, understands everything about, hacking and computers and, technologies and, is not afraid of them and is willing to use cutting edge ones.
Well, I think it's her and Microchip from The Punisher are the first, those two are the first real person in the chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is on the other side. And they kind of made it cool. And now you see that adopted all the time. You can't even watch a show, can't watch a TV show or movie that has some type of action adventure thing going on, that somebody's not in the chair doing all the computer work.
Right. The command work. Yeah. Because it's part of the way that people are heroes. I mean, like, look, I was like saying about, the fire trucks that were like blasting by me, there's a nerve center, over there. So that's what I love about Barbara, is that that's what I think makes her great.
Are you sad that this is coming to an end?
Yeah, I'm sad. Sad.
Was it hard writing those last few lines and thinking about all the work that you did?
I did cry a 14, little,
15 issues, is that right?
I started at issue 37. So 13
That's
issues.
a lot.
Yeah.
13 issues is quite a bit.
That's
it's over a year of your life dedicated to one character.
Yeah. And it's not like, they're ending the book. It's not like I would have stopped, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's there, it's like, that's just, and I think that has a lot to do with, the time, that we're in right now and just all the fluctuations and stuff. I had sort of thought that that it would go a little further, but at the same time, like super happy. Like I'm so excited about issue 50. I think it's going to be a really special, I think it's a really nice way to sort of end Barbara for now and sort of give her sort of new, whoever in the future takes her on, like, we'll have an opportunity to take her in whatever direction they want. And there's like lots of paths that she could go.
What was your goal when you took over Batgirl that you said, I want to make sure that this happens?
Well, one of my goals I didn't really get to do. And the other goal I did kind of get to do. Oh. So, when I started, I came in on Year of the Villain. Actually, I came in and it was 3 different events Batgirl was in. She was in Year of the Villain, Leviathan, and City of Bane. So that's a lot
that's
to
a lot.
Come in on because you have to kind of, navigate.
It's going to be hard for you too, right? Because they're giving you notes on, okay, this is happening and this is happening. So you got to kind of, okay, I want to do this. And then
very different from my experience on Shade, the Changing Girl, or
you can just do whatever you want,
where, I'm in my own bubble. I can do whatever I want. So one of the things that I was tasked with Barbara and with Batgirl with Year of the Villain was the Oracle as her enemy, right? The Oracle robot. And that obviously was very hard because, it was like, oh gosh, like Oracle's a good thing. Like, I don't want that. So I did make sure that like she never calls the Oracle robot Oracle. Like she's like, that's not you. You're not my legacy.
Right.
But I wanted it to sort of give her a wake up call that even her as smart as she is, that like Oracle could match her thought process. Right. And so they were formidable, in that way because they couldn't outsmart each other. And so I thought it would be really cool for that to sort of, because Barbara is so willing to grow and willing to learn, that she would sort of, in my mind, have this sort of year of yes, where she sort of is like, yes, I'm going to do things differently than I ever did before so that I can't be tripped up by myself, And in a way, if you've been following along, that's why, perhaps Jason Bard seems like a strange sort of, beau that she has.
But he was an older boyfriend from years ago, like in his, like the Bronze Age, right?
Yeah, the best boyfriend she ever had. He is the coolest guy. He's like super cool Vietnam vet, like, he's like debonair, totally her equal partner, like respects Barbara, respects Batgirl, like he's like just fabulous guy,
Right.
So that's, Jason kind of gave me an opportunity to have her be like, I would, especially because in the now, Jason, sort of, had gotten Jim Gordon thrown in jail and like did all this like sort of messed up stuff.
Yeah.
And she threw him off a building and like, it was like a real moment, like, what's she going to do?
This is all pre you taking over, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, well, that would be a good person for her to like sort of have to try to like sort of, lean into this sort of natural chemistry that they're starting to have that had been set up by Margaret Scott.
Right.
And sort of have it be her way of being like, I have to try something that's different. This is a very obvious different thing for me to figure out, So that was my one thing, was sort of this year of yes, where she would try to sort of move a little bit differently in the way that she fights and thinks, so that she could never get, tripped up by someone who knew all her moves. Because, in my opinion, it's not quite certain that Oracle robot is gone for good, So, in
comics,
comics, and also, there's one panel, one place where I kind of made the colorist, like Jordy put just a little bit of green in there, like maybe it's there, maybe it's not, we kind of left it open in my mind. Nobody else's mind, like nobody else but mine. So that was one thing. So, and my second thing that I really wanted to do is that, Batgirl doesn't have her own rogues gallery.
Yeah. Kind of feeds off of Batman's.
Yeah. She kind of has Killer Moth because that's sort of stitched into her sort of own origin story.
Right.
I guess now she has Oracle. I tried to kind of do one in, I guess, what was it? 45, 46, or 40, I can't remember. 45, 46, where it's the sort of woman who like has this sort of metallic jewelry and this metal thing, but that's like a story that like, if I could have had 5 issues to do that, then I think I could have, it could have been like this sort of very,
you could have fleshed it out
thing that like, dealt directly with, the fact that Barbara is interested in clean energy and green energy. She had that company. And so that could have been very fun. But, the problem is that you don't have a lot of time. And then, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Joker war is happening. So now I have to like, you shift my, so it just, you just kind of got to do what you do.
You got a finite number. When did you know that 50 was going to be the last one?
At the beginning of lockdown.
Oh, okay. So you had a little bit of time.
Yeah. It was like, maybe like April.
Yeah, that must have been bummer news, though.
Yeah, I mean, but I was glad that I got to like sort of finish her.
This opens you up for new things and new ideas and new adventures. And does DC already have you ready for other things or anything you can actually talk about? Or if you can't, that's fine.
I did do 2 things for their young adult line, not graphic novels, but they have 2 anthologies. The Wonder Women of History.
Oh, cool.
Or not Wonder Woman of History, but Wonder Women, in the world. And then this Flash Facts. I'm a big space person. So I did Ellen Ochoa, who's the first Latina astronaut with artist Karen Guevara. Yeah. And then I did Supergirl and the Solar System. So, So I did those. And then, I don't know, I'm sure... and I'm doing a short for DC Metal. Yeah. So I have that coming out in December.
Working with Scott?
Yeah.
We had him on.
I haven't worked with him. I've been talking more with Josh Williamson, but because, him and James and Scott like are kind of all, I guess, they know they know where all the bodies are in DC Metal. So my person who I've been like, talking to regularly with is Josh, who's an amazing guy. And so that's been really fun too. And I kind of feel like that's sort of like my little epilogue, in the DCU,
Yeah.
But I've pitched a bunch of things and we'll see what happens. They just had a big changeover. So
yeah. Well, it's definitely a process. And with everything going on, man, you saw the bloodletting that happened over there a little while ago. And it was bumming to see all those people go. But at the same time, a lot of people are getting an opportunity because of that. So it's an interesting time. I hope to see you do some stuff. Do you have any creator-owned stuff that you're hoping to be able to do?
I do, but they're not announced yet. So.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's awesome. Just the fact that you do, that's enough.
I have 2 projects. They're like this
excited.
To being, happening. I don't
on
want to
the verge of contracts being signed, things going in a positive direction.
But that, I've got those.
I'll be sending out tons of positive vibes towards you.
Yeah. It's like that kind of thing where it's like in both cases, like me and the editors have been talking, we're all set to go. And it's just a matter of like finding the right artist and like, and stuff. So I'm like, I've actually, that's like the other thing. I feel like this whole week I've been on pins and needles. Like, what do I work on? Like, do I start like just dreaming that like this is going to work or,
is this going to happen? I have 2 things that happened to me. One, I'm buying a house. Right. And we're going through the underwriting process right now, which is just nerve wracking because they're like, oh, this. And then all of a sudden they run your credit report and they're like, what's this? And it's like, oh, come on. And so you're always nerve wracking. And the other thing is my daughter is not my biological daughter, but I'm in the process of adopting her and everything's done.
Amazing. Wow, those are two huge things.
Yeah. And they literally could coalesce at the same time. So we're just like, it's like, what do I concentrate on? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just sort of in this middle, this sort of middle thing. I have two licensed things that with a different company that haven't been announced yet that I'm super excited about.
Oh my, you got to come to town when it happens.
One is a one shot, actually they're both one shots. And then I have these two creator owned things. One's a graphic novel and one it will be like 5-issue miniseries. And and then I've been talking with editors at DC. So,
I got to ask, because you obviously have a big passion for comic books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I watched you on YouTube talking with Sci-Fi Wire, and you talked about going back and when you got the Batgirl job, you went back and read everything you could on Barbara Gordon and went through omnibuses. And that's, you know what I mean? How you decided you wanted to bring Bard back and you wanted to do all, or bring Bard into a different fold than what he was before, because you wanted to do all this. I was like blown away that you did all this extra work, because I've talked to countless creators and a lot of times it's just, do what I want to do. And you know what I mean? And it was so refreshing to see somebody really be passionate about what they were doing. And I got to know, what got you into comic books like this? What made you just be such, for lack of a better term, a dork when it comes to books like this?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
did that.
I'm gonna say that, thanks for watching that and for saying that. Yeah. And, that's why it's like, Female Furies, which, I did with Adriana Mello, like that too, the same thing. Like, when that sprang from a conversation that I had with Dan DiDio when Shade the Changing Girl was finished. And I happened to be in the office and he happened to just be like, oh, come on in, and then we had this conversation
awesome.
And, he sort of issued me a challenge with the Female Furies because I was trying to figure out what I could do next. And he was telling me about all these other projects. And I thought, oh, well, I said, oh, those are all boy things. Where's your Handmaid's Tale? And,
right.
And he's like, why don't you try something with the Female Furies with that? If you can do that, then we can talk. And then he gave me the Jack Kirby Fourth New Gods omnibus and was like, have at it. And so I read that entire thing and like every single panel and choice that I made and that I gave as reference to Adriana in the Female Furies, I can point to which issue in the New Gods that it is, So I like doing my homework. Same thing with Shade the Changing Girl, went back, looked at the Ditko, read all 76 issues of the Milligan. And so if you've read those, then you can see the little Easter eggs that I'm leaving for you. But if you haven't, you're still going to enjoy it.
Right.
I think that's what makes art great. And I think that's what makes it fun when it's not your own creator-owned character, but you're sort of bringing something,
something new, but bringing something old still with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if I do like a 10-page short story, like I did for Valentine's Day a couple years ago, and it was Galentine's and it was, Hawk Girl or whatever, it's like, I'll ask my editors, like, can you send me books that I can read, because I want to be able to pull from it. So
digital.
Well, when they send me things, sometimes they send me just like PDFs of it.
But what do you prefer personally?
Books.
Yeah, me too.
Actual books.
I love the feel. Yeah. I love the smell.
Well, I'm a tub reader. Like I read in the bathtub. So that's great. But sorry, there's a helicopter.
You're fine.
It's shaking my house. So I got into comics like I don't know, a kid of a certain age, I fell in love with the Adam West Batman, and my parents bought me for my birthday omnibus of Golden Age Batman and Superman comics.
Oh,
when
cool.
I was 4. And so that was like before I could even read, that was, I'm also French Canadian. And so comics are a big part of French culture. So we always had like Tintin and Lucky. Like my parents were always like, to them, comics was just like a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then I had a little brother, and as we got older and he started getting his pull list, I just sort of assumed that his pull list was
your pull list.
was my pull list, you know? So he was more into Marvel. So I read a lot of Marvel. And
I was a Marvel guy growing up.
Yeah. And then getting into when I got to college, I was living in Montreal and I was working at a co-op vegetarian cafe, hippie cafe.
Yeah.
And there was a regular there who was starting up a comic book company in Montreal. And that company was Drawn and Quarterly. And they used to have comic jams. And it was like, they would have like all these indie artists that would like drink beer and draw live comic jams. Cool. And it was like Seth and Chester Brown and Julie Doucette. And like, so, you know, so then like when I was in college and when I was in my punk band, it was every like indie comics were like the thing that I was, you know, sort of reading. And
the comics still drove you. Even when you were writing music, you were still thinking comics.
Absolutely. 100%. My friends were making, you know, I had a friend who was making mini comics and, you know, I was always like slinging beer at these like, Bande Dessinée en Direct comic book jams.
Yeah.
You know, I remember there was like one comic book jam and it was like, there was a comic book jam and Rufus Wainwright was like playing the piano and like, it was like, you know, it was
crazy.
When I think about it, I'm like, this is like off the hook. I mean, I didn't know it then. It was just like an annoying night out, you know, but now I think about it, I'm like, wow, that was pretty incredible. So yeah, comics had always been a part of my life, always been a part of my sort of literacy, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously found Vertigo, you know, as well when I was in college. And it wasn't until I was living in Texas in 1999 with a boyfriend just for a few months.
Yeah.
And I bought Ed Brubaker's book, The Dead Enders.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at it and I was like, because I really wanted to write young adult novels. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I kept trying to figure out how to submit to Vertigo Comics. And I couldn't sort of figure it out. And then Shelley Bond was doing the Minx line and she reached out to me because she had read one of my YA novels.
Yeah.
It's called Boyproof. And it's about a girl who's obsessed with reading comic books. So she thought, well, maybe this chick wants to write comics. And she had edited The Dead Enders. So it was kind of this like nice sort of, you know, synchronicity. And once I did the Plain Janes, that was the Plain Janes that I did for Minx with Jim Rugg. I was like, it has taken me 6 years to get here, but it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's always been in my life. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm not like a fly by night, you know, like comics person. Like I'm in, like I'm not, you can't get rid of me, you know? So, but then it took me a really long time, you know, to get to the DCU, you know? So, pardon?
It's hard to get there.
Yeah. And, you know, and certainly I think maybe as a woman, it took me, you know, even longer. I mean, I think it was like, you know, every single year since like 2008 at San Diego, I would like see Dan DiDio and just be like, my name is Cecil Castellucci and I would like to come to the DC universe. And everybody would just look away, like, you know, whatever. And, you know, but I was determined that one day that I was going to get there. So I'm so happy to have gotten to do it with Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. And I'm so glad to like sort of get to take her to the end of her run for this sort of era, you know? And I really hope that people like, you know, issue 50. I think I really try to sort of bring her sort of into the, you know, into sort of her new reality.
Yeah.
And also have it be relevant and have it be, you know, have like a, you know, a particular, you know, sort of, you know, lady point of view, not that gentlemen can't, you know, appreciate that, you know, just like I was really happy that I got a chance with Robbie Rodriguez to, you know, to sort of, you know, revisit and take a different stance, a different lens on The Killing Joke with issue 47.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I like the fact that you are into doing YA novel, you know, because I meet a lot of writers and, you know, their book gets classified YA and they don't, you know, I'm like, so are you into writing YA? And it's always like, well, you know, they don't want to say it. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome. You know, I like the fact that you're no, I want to write a YA novels because I think that group of kids tends to be looked over in a lot of ways. So it's kind of nice to have novels coming out specifically for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have like 9 YA novels out, that are just words. One of them is and then obviously, YA graphic novel. I have Soupy Leaves Home with Jose Pimenta, Year of the Beasts with Nate Powell, Plain Janes with Jim Rugg. So, right? Like I'm the luckiest writer.
When I was a kid, what was the YA novels for you when you were a kid? Because me, it was the Xanth novels by Piers Anthony, which if you go back and read them now, there's some really weird stuff in there that shouldn't be in there.
I read those.
Yeah. And, or The Incarnations of Immortality by the same author, or like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is super
middle grade.
Yeah. And then my big one was the Lord of the Rings books,
So I think, we're around the same age. And I think that what happened when we were growing up is that we would go from juvenile literature to genre. So your fantasy, your science fiction, your mystery, Westerns, horror, right?
Yeah.
So like I went from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and like Wrinkle in Time and all those like, kind of books to Dune, Kurt Vonnegut, Agatha Christie, romance books, right? Like, Thornbirds or whatever, like that was what YA was, right? And then you moved on from there. Once you kind of went through that through genre, then you kind of moved on to what Dostoevsky or, whoever. So, and then, obviously there were a few YA books like Deanie by Judy Blume and Forever, those were books.
Judy Blume came to my elementary school.
Wow. That's a cool school.
Yeah. And she read, what was the book that she had out? I don't remember. She read a chapter out of her book.
Wow.
And they did a whole assembly and she came in. You know who else came to my elementary school was Shel Silverstein.
What?
Yeah.
Where did school?
Tracyton Elementary in Bremerton, Washington. And he came to our school. Our librarian, Mr. Yerrick, lived in my neighborhood.
From Bremerton.
Do you really? I grew up in Bremerton.
Okay, so the bass player in my first band, she's from Bremerton.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Bremerton's a funny town.
Denise Maupin was her name.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Bremerton's a funny town. Quincy Jones is from Bremerton.
Huh.
Of all the people, you know what I mean? That's our most famous person from Bremerton, I think, is Quincy Jones.
But anyway, so there was no sort of YA. And then like, in the 90s, there started to be a section. And by the time my first novel got published in 2005, even in 2005, they had just started having like one tiny shelf where it was young adult fiction. And then it became like after Twilight and stuff, it became kind of an explosion. So I want to write everything. I've written picture books. I've written easy early chapter books. I've written middle grade. I've written young adult. I've written adult science fiction stories, adult comic books, superhero comic books, kids comic. I'll do it all.
Were you just writing all the time growing up? Like, are you the person that had the diary, but then it ended up just being a bunch of short stories and then you're just constantly going? Or when did that writing bug actually hit you?
I think it was always there. I actually have a memoir about me becoming an artist out on Boom that just came out. It's a graphic novel memoir. It came out in December.
Oh, we'll have to put a link into it.
Yeah, I think you'll like it because it's basically, I saw Star Wars. I thought that I wanted to be the world's greatest filmmaker, and every single life choice that I made was to become a filmmaker because I thought that's how I was going to tell stories. And then
you're going to be the next.
That's not, then I was like in a punk band and then I was like novels and, clearly that never happened. But so I was the person who was always thinking about how can I put on a play or how can I make this into a script? I used to have this thing with my junior high school friends. I grew up in Riverdale in the Bronx. And I wrote this thing called Riverdale General Hospital, which was like a ongoing soap opera about like all the kids in my school. And every day I would bring pages of this script of like, we would all read it at lunch and, people would pass around the pages and I typed it on my typewriter. So I don't think I was more in love with stories than writing. How can I tell them in whatever way I can? And, like I said, now I do novels. I do, I've done music, which are short stories in a way. I've done stories. I write opera librettos, like, for operas. I'd like to become a playwright. So hang on.
You're a storyteller, not just a writer, a storyteller.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that's that.
Yeah. What are you reading right now for when it comes to books, comic books? Are you reading anything right now?
Oh, I just read, I'm very interested in hybrid comics because that's what I did with Nate Powell. We did a book called Year of the Beasts, and it's alternating chapters of prose and comics. And you can read just the prose parts and you get one story, just the comics, you get one story. But if you read it together, you get the whole story.
Yeah.
So I just read this book called Tamara Drew by Posie Simmons, which is sort of loosely based on Far From the Madding Crowd. And it's kind of a hybrid sort of text and words.
That's awesome.
Text and comics.
Right. Text and words.
That's it together. So that's what I've been reading. What else?
Have you read Canto yet?
No.
What David Brewer?
No.
Tucker? Oh, Canto. Here, I'll show you. This is
it a hybrid as well?
No. It's not coming up. It's an independent. It's IDW. Creator owned. David Brewer. Canto 2 just came out. And they're doing but the volume 1 is out, and it's about a clockwork night I
already love it.
Yeah. It's a clockwork night that has lost his whole society has been enslaved, and they took their hearts out and replaced it with these clockworks so they can't feel. And they're not allowed to have names. They're not allowed to have all this stuff. Where Canto has a girlfriend that he feels very deeply for who gave him a name. So he's already unique amongst all of his people.
It.
And then
tell me anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like David Brewer is a huge Wizard of Oz fan. And so he takes it very much like a fairy tale and in the vein of that. And it's amazing. I try to tell everybody, you guys got to check this out. It's amazing. And if you really like it, you can get it. And then the first issue of Canto 2, we did David and his artist. Oh my God, this is terrible because they've been on 3 times now and I can't remember his artist's name. And anyways, we did a DVD style commentary track on it.
Oh, I love it.
We went page by page and talked about every panel, what they were thinking, why they did this, why they did that. And so you can literally take volume 1 or issue 1 of Canto 2 and follow along. I love it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of novels during lockdown. And then, of course, like homework books, because for my research. Yeah. But I can't tell you what they are because then that would spoil the things that have not yet been announced.
Well, Cecil, when things get announced, please come back on. You are so wonderful to talk with. I feel like you and I could probably sit here and just talk for hours and not even realize
we're having beer together.
Right, we're having beers together and everything. I love it.
Yeah, I wish I could say more. So, I would like to talk about Plain Janes for a minute. I don't know if you've ever read that, but that's with the amazing Jim Rugg. And that was the first comic book that I did with DC. It came out in 2007. Yeah. And then Jim and I, the Minx line folded and we got the rights back. And it just came out in January on Little Brown.
Up right now.
And
I have not read that.
Oh, it's about art and activism. And so it's about a girl named Jane who is in a terrorist attack in a fictional American city, and her parents freak out and move her to the suburbs. Yeah. And she decides that in order to sort of combat her trauma, and she wants to become artist, like a Banksy style artist. And they start doing art attacks, her and these other 3 girls named Jane, in order to
named Jane?
They're all named Jane.
Oh, I love this.
They decide, because she wants to make an attack be something beautiful. It's a way of reclaiming, the thing. So, it was timely in 2007. It feels like, pretty relevant
timely now
as well.
Yeah.
And anyway, me and Jim, we had the line got canceled, but we had already started working on the 3rd book and never got to finish our story. So now we got the rights back and Little Brown has it. And, that we got to finish the whole thing. And it's an omnibus. So it's all 3 in one. And Jim Rugg it was such a pleasure to work with him. And, I really believe the whole theme of the book, the mantra is art saves. And I really feel like it does. And I really feel like, just to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning, during this time that we're in, we're all turning to art, I mean, binging Netflix or, reading comics or, listening to music and live living room shows and stuff. Art is what is getting us through. And so it's just, I'm very passionate about that book. Actually, you can see there's an original.
I see it.
That's a Jim Rugg right there.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Oh, I'm going to check it out. I got it up right here. It's on my Amazon right now.
Excellent.
Yeah. And it's at my local library.
Perfect.
How
Get
cool
it from
is
the
that?
library. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You should get Girl on Film too, because it's like, that's like the art book.
I will.
And it's like,
any suggestions, especially things I love finding out. There's so many books out there and there's so many good stuff out there. It's impossible to read it all.
Oh, totally. That's why. Yeah, totally.
I got to once I find something I connect with, like with you, I can tell. You tell me, hey, you should check this out. I think you'll like it. I'm probably going to like it. So I'm going to hunt that out.
I think the fun thing about, Girl on Film too, is that like, when I grew up, you remember the movie Fame, so I went to that.
Even the TV show.
Yeah. That was my high school. Like I went to that actual.
Oh, where they shot it?
Well, no, I mean like I went to the High School of Performing Arts in New York City.
Oh, gotcha.
So I went to the school that it was based on.
Right.
And my classmates, I was classmates with Jennifer Aniston and
oh wow,
and Reno Wilson, who's on The Good Girls, and so I intersected with like a lot of like people who were Chaz Bono, who were in my class, and were part of pop culture, and so it's like a star-studded, about me failing to become the artist that I thought I was going to be, and instead becoming the artist that I am.
Right.
But
the right artist. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah, but I feel like that book and the Plain Janes, one is the fictional version of my sort of, it's about Jane becoming an artist, and then Girl on Film is, they're kind of very, very similar.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to order it. I think I'm just going to buy it for the Plain Jane, and then I'm going to check out the Girl on Film as well.
Yeah.
Because that'll be good. So.
And wait, and how old is your kid? Your kid is little? 7?
Yeah.
Is it girl or boy?
Girl. There's Ella. She's amazing.
If you give me your snail mail,
I will.
I just wrote, I just had come out. I did a retelling of Disney's Little Mermaid and Snow White and Frozen.
Oh, cool.
So I'll send her one of those, if you'd like.
Definitely. After we finish, I'll give it to you off air.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're having a beer, but you can't be doing
Drew Zucker. That is the artist on Canto. Oh, my Lord. I would have just killed me if I didn't.
I'm trying to think, like, what comics have I read lately that...
I've been doing a lot of independents. I'm into Palomino right now by Stephen Frank. Do you know him?
Mm-mm.
Stephen Frank was the animation supervisor on the Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then he wrote this, he has 2 independent books out, or how do I say this? He's got a storyline called Silver, which is a Ocean's 11. It's a grift story inside of Dracula's castle. It's awesome. And then that has 2 volumes to it. It's amazing. And then he has this new one called Palomino, which takes place in the 1980s in LA in the 1980s at the Palomino Club when it was still a Western bar.
So I was just looking. I can't tell you a lot of these that I've read.
Yeah.
But remember, I was telling you that I have this one book that might happen. That's going to be like 5 issues. Well, originally I was thinking it was going to be 4 issues. So I'd done a Twitter call for a bunch of like 4-issue complete sort of self-contained stories.
Yeah.
So I read Flex Mentello, Man of Muscle Mystery, Red Sonja, Conan, Spencer and Locke.
Was that the Gail Simone on the Red Sonja?
No, Victor Gischler.
Oh, interesting.
Cloaks, Batman Year One.
Nice.
So it was like, just like a bunch of like
classic
4-issue, just to sort of get an idea about, and there were a bunch of others, but I didn't put them on my Goodreads, or like 4-issue complete stories, because, I find that's like one of the things that's always difficult when you're doing comics. Sometimes you have these big, high concepts.
Yep.
And like, but you only get 20 pages, right? Even with Batgirl, right? It's like you get 20 pages, and I always need 24, but
Right.
you get 20. Always.
I just need 4 more.
It's like when I had 22 pages with female furies, I needed 26. It's always, it's always, and it's like, and I mean, I would say like with Shade the Changing Girl, but the last arc, which was Shade the Changing Woman.
Yep.
I would say like, if I could have done it the exact way that I wanted, I probably, if I just had like 8 more pages at the end, like I could have, and
really
with female furies, like 2 more, I just needed 2 more pages, but you can't, so I think it's important for me to like read 4-issue complete stories, because then you can kind of see, oh yeah, this kind of works, or I see how they introduce this, or
they don't do the 4-issue miniseries that much anymore.
Yeah.
Like in the 80s, that's all like there's a ton of like Magic. She had her own 4-issue miniseries out of Marvel, it was great. And Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, 4-issue miniseries. And The Punisher was supposed to be 4 issues and ended up being a 5-issue miniseries, probably because, they needed 4 more pages.
They needed 4 more pages. Exactly. So,
That's a good idea. I like that.
But I think that there's probably 4-issue miniseries, because now you think about it, and if you have 5 or 6, then you can collect it into a trade, and that's like a good solid trade.
That's the big thing now, right? Trade paperback.
Yeah, so it's just a different thing. So but my other comics that I read for research were really fun and cool.
That's cool. I can't wait to find out what they are.
And then I've been reading a lot of novels. Like one of my pandemic projects has been, book club.
Yeah.
So I have a book club with my friends. I have a book club with my mom and dad. I have a book club with my D&D group. It's just like all these like book groups.
I'm a big reader, and I used to always read. Now I do a lot of audiobooks just because I'm so busy. You know what I mean? So when I'm in the car or if I'm about ready to fall asleep, then I can put an audiobook on, which is great. And somebody suggested I read Crake and Oric, which was, oh my God. I read that, Cecil, in February. And so I finished the book, and what happens? We go on a pandemic lockdown and everything. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, that's
Are you serious that this just happened? I said, don't ever suggest a book to me again.
Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, you manifested it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the other pandemic project that I've been doing is I decided that I was going to watch every single Disney movie.
Yeah. How's that going?
Theatrically released. Yeah, it is a lot. It's like 460.
You watched The Cat from Outer Space yet?
No, I'm not there yet. I'm only in 1967. I just finished The Happiest Billionaire, which is film number 84 in my rewatch.
Wow.
But I'm going in order and stuff. I really want to watch what was not the Trolls movie, but the new animated movie that Disney just put out, Onward or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Can't watch it because I'm not up to it yet. You know?
Pixar. And that's a good one too. But you've never watched, so you're waiting to get through all those so you can get to that one.
Yeah.
Are they all on Disney Plus?
No.
Wow.
So they're not all on Disney Plus. Some of them you can rent like on Vudu or Amazon Prime. Some of them I've had to, sort of find under secret, deep, dark internet.
Yeah.
But it's been really interesting to go through the entire body of a production company. And, for example, Bambi classic, I watched it, back, that was one of the early ones.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is The Lion King. It's pretty much the same story as The Lion King.
Yeah. There's a parallel there.
Yeah. And so, it was really interesting to see how sometimes some of the ideas that they have, they try it out like this and try it out like that. And try it out like this. And so, and then they kind of discard it and make it better, or discard it, try to repurpose it and stuff. So.
Yeah, I love finding parallels and things. Who do we have on? We had Jim Beaver, who is on Supernatural, right? And I was asking him, I said, did Jensen Ackles and Padalecki ever talk to you about the fact that Supernatural kind of parallels the Hardy Boys? And that there's no similarities? Like, oh my God, I'd never thought of that. And I was like, I love finding those parallels because I think it's great. You know what I mean? I think it's hilarious that you find something, you're like, oh, that is like the Hardy Boys. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, it's the Hardy Boys if the supernatural is being real.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But theirs is always never real.
Never real. Yeah. And Nancy Drew either. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, just art saves, and art is, what's interesting, and reading a lot of novels.
That's good. Well, Cecil, we've been on for over an hour. Can you believe it?
I know. Well, we haven't, because we waited until...
We waited like a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, we waited a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And now we're almost at an hour.
We're almost there.
And also, I'm a chatty Kathy, so, I apologize.
You know what? Me too.
Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, I'm the same way. Sometimes it's bad. I feel bad when I have a co-host on, because then I don't ever give him a chance to talk. But he's like, oh, that's all right. It's like, I can't help it. I got to speak my mind.
Well, what a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you.
It was awesome meeting you.
Having me on. And I'm sorry that I have to be like, oh yeah, I can't talk about anything yet.
No, we talked about a lot of stuff. And then hopefully when that stuff comes out, you'll be like, oh, I remember that guy. I want to come back on and talk with him.
But oh yes, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And then,
we're like beer buddies now.
I know. You should call me like once a week and we'll have a beer together.
I love it. I hope that everybody enjoys, the Batgirl, the Goodbye for Batgirl.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think
the cover looks awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing cover. Joshua Middleton, which is a fun, nice thing, because Josh is one of the first people that I'd met in comics, like just randomly at a birthday party of.
Now here he is doing
and then he did my first Batgirl cover, and he did my last one. So there's a nice synchronicity there.
That's awesome.
And I just want to give a shout out to the 3 artists that are on issue 50. It's Marguerite Sauvage and Emmanuel Lupiciano. So those are great artists, and
awesome. I love it. Hey, in a post-COVID world and the cons are back in full force, do you come up to Emerald City?
Well, I was supposed to be a special guest this year.
Oh,
it was my first time going ever. So yes, I hope they invite me back. And when the world, I guess I got to write some more books so that they think I'm fancy enough.
Got to stay up there. Well, when it comes in and you're up here, you got to get a hold of us, and I'll take you out for a real beer.
Perfect. I love it.
There you go.
That's the deal. Nice. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for being on.
Good luck with your big.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I think everything's ready to go. All the paperwork's done. We're just waiting for the court date. And then we just got all the good stuff with the house. So we're just waiting for it to go through underwriter, but what's going through with underwriting, there is nothing there that makes sense for them to say no. So we should be fine.
I'm pushing good vibes.
I appreciate it.
So yeah. Anyway, a real pleasure talking with you, and thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And we're back.
We are back. What'd you think? Did you have fun?
I had fun. This is one of those surprises for me, because I didn't know it was happening.
Yeah.
We were doing this interview because I've been, as you know, Kenric, but our audience doesn't know, my work team at my day job has completely gone down to 2 people. And of those 2 people, I'm doing 95% of the work right now.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not throwing shade. I'm just talking reality. So I'm working until 2 a.m. in the morning. So my free time to do anything is dropped drastically. And that should be changing in a week or 2. But right now I am swamped and stressed. And
this is how it goes. Hey, Johnny, you want to do this? Yeah. Give me 5 minutes. 40 minutes later, he goes, okay, I'm ready.
40 minutes to get ready. But it'll get better. But it's crazy, because it's funny, because I wish you and I could stay in sync of who I like when we have like time.
Yeah.
You're super swamped, can't do shit, or I'm super swamped, can't do shit. So we have to like I'm like right now, we're lucky it's happening. You happen to message me and say, hey, let's do it at a time where I'm like, hey, I'm actually not doing something right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I'm ready. And it's late at night. And I'm like, everybody's in bed, dude.
Yeah.
And right now, the house that I'm currently in, which is changing soon, you can't do it late at night.
Right. No, it's hard. So when you
wake everybody up, I will wake everybody up.
Well, you'll wake everybody up when you talk anyways. You have a big booming voice.
That's right. I can. Yeah. Yeah. Well, can't help it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be awesome when you move. We can do more stuff. So that's all I'm saying.
But Cecil, she was awesome, dude. And, it was cool that when the cons come back, she'd love to come up and sit down with us, have a beer, talk. She's a chatty Kathy. She really is. And
so you 2 got along really well then.
Yeah, we did. I told her, I said, man, I feel like we could just sit here and talk for hours, because it's just funny, going through, everybody's has, You know what's okay? You know what it is? You know what's refreshing? Is like one thing is we talked about the YA novels and the fact that she loves to do YA specifically.
It's
you know
fun.
what I mean? And how many writers have you and I met when we ask them about YA novels and they hate even being labeled? There's only like one other author that we talked to that specifically wrote a YA novel.
Yeah.
And that was the guy that did The Goblin King.
Well, no, we talked to Jin Yang, who actually just won a Harvey for his YA novel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
We've talked to a couple.
And we've talked to a couple. But more often than not, when we talk to a writer, they don't like the labels.
Right.
It's not just about YA. It's just like they don't like the labels so much.
Like you don't want to get pigeonholed into one
thing. Yeah. But she's like, no, man, I love doing YA and stuff and doing, and she's sending somebody special a Snow White book that she wrote.
Oh, nice.
In the mail.
That's
awesome.
I'm
excited for that for her. So it's all good stuff, man. It's all good stuff.
Cool. Sounds like you had a really good time. And I always, so for everybody out there, I always know when Kenric has a good time on an episode when he insisted we record an intro outro the same day.
It's all fresh in the mind.
Fresh. This is good. It's a good job, Kenric.
There you go.
I mean, you don't need my approval, but you've got my approval this time.
There you go. All right, guys. I think that's it. If you enjoyed the interview with Cecil, which I'd be shocked if you didn't, because she's just so bubbly and she just puts you in a good mood. It's hard not to listen to Cecil and not smile and not be like, oh, okay, this girl has it going on and she's a lot of fun. So I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, you really need to go check out spoilerverse.com. And there is a plethora of back issues. Yes, we call them back issues because we're comic book nerds.
Right.
And check out all the interviews that we have with some amazing people like Chad Stahelski, director of all the John Wicks, Robert Wool, one of my favorite actors who did Arliss and was in Batman and a ton of other things. And of course, all of the creative forces that we have pulled together to talk to you about their processes, how they do things, why they get into stuff. It's tremendous. It really is.
It's insane. And when you're at the website, spoilerverse.com, go to that store link and click on the store and get a t-shirt or a hoodie. And I was actually wearing my hoodie earlier today because it's comfy and I love it. But get a hoodie because they're awesome. And you look, as I say, fly as hell, right? Right. It helps support the site here because, this isn't free for us, but we do it free for you. But if you feel like helping out, that's a great way to do it.
Yep. All right, man. I think that's it.
That's a show.
That is a show. So just don't forget, in an oceans of podcasts, we are Cthulhu. As Cthulhu compels you to do.
Open the mind.
And read more. Open the mind.